Hey guys, got the Nacet here, and all these other items are things that I don't enjoy using, because that's the theme of today in the lather games. Stuff you hate. Now, do I hate it? Not really, except for maybe the soap. I just recognize that this is an aggressive razor, this Goodwill 160, I believe. It's just got so much exposure, I think, that the geometry is just rough on me. And so I just don't think it's for me. But that's as good as hate against a razor as I'm going to find. There are a few razors that are too mild for me that I can't use, even with fresh blades, like the Game Changer 68 solid bar. There are only a couple of blades that work well in that for me. The Feather ASD2, wonderful razor, gorgeous piece, but very mild unless I put some feather blades in it. And if I do that, it's wonderful. Then you've got the other side of the coin, and where like this Goodwill razor, it's just too aggressive for me. The Blackbird from Blackland, too aggressive for me. The R41, I still have that head around because that's cheap. That's too aggressive for me in general. A lot of the Wolfman, I think I tried a Wolfman 1 point something or something like that, and I traded it because it was just too aggressive for me. Oh, the Charcoal Goods, even the level 1, much less the level 2, they were too rough, too aggressive. And so, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Charcoal Goods people kind of patterned their stuff after something like this. Now, onto the brush. Of course, it's a synthetic. If you watch my channel very much, you'll know that I just don't use very many synthetics at all because they shove. They have a lot of backbone, especially the Tuxedo here. They just shove my skin around. Now, this will be my first time trying a 30 millimeter Tuxedo, a large synthetic with a lot of backbone. Maybe I'll discover something different, but that's why he's here. He doesn't have to soak. It's also why he's dry. He's a synthetic. Now, on to the thing that I actually really don't like. And that's because this Castl Frbs soap, the soap base, I tried another scent from them, and then I tried this one, and both of them, of course, had the same performance because it's the same base. It's a cream, and it is the reason I strongly dislike it. It's because it's got such a big reputation across the forums. But the lather was so unimpressive. And that's why it's here. Nice woody scent. I like that all right. Now we are going to get our fingers wet in just a minute. So while we have dry ones, I'm going to pull the blade out of the packaging. So there's my little markers there at the top for 192. So today is 193. And this also is, it's a beautiful razor. It's an interesting piece. It has these, diamonds underneath it where the studs are here. And it's got these recesses in the top cap to make room for that. It's very interesting. Got kind of a bicolor going on. I don't know if that's red brass or copper or whatever. And it definitely takes a minute to get the alignment right with this one. So I'm going to put let me show you the Nacet before I start to put it on. Just so you can show that it's the same 3-dot Nacet that I have been using the whole time. And there's actually some wiggle room there, so this is this may take longer than a Fatip to adjust, because and then the top cap itself has wiggle room. So let's just kind of do what we do in terms of bring it in lightly and just kind of start to play with things a little bit. I think that'll do right there. Not bad. See if See if you can also look at how much exposure that is. Look at that. If you draw a line from the top cap right about here, which is its furthest point, across the blade like that, and then here you've got the safety, kind of the open comb. Man, so much exposure. That, my friends, is why it's nasty for me. So, water on my face. I don't have a half teaspoon or quarter teaspoon, half teaspoon measure, so I'm just going to have to approximate. Get a little bit more than I think, just to make sure we have plenty of lather. And then it's nice that it's a cream here, but this I've had it for a few months now. It's firmed up just a little bit, I think. I think it was a little softer before. But I'm just going to spread it around. And it's firm enough to where I feel like I do need to press it into a thin layer in the bottom of the bowl. And you don't want chunks to just sit around, because if they come loose, they'll follow the brush around and won't really get mixed into the lather, or at least they'll take a long time to get mixed in with the lather, because they're moving with the brush instead of the brush moving on top of them. All right. It's a nice woody scent. It's not too fancy. Maybe that's part of the reason I don't like it either, is it's just kind of I mean, it's almost like nothing's done to it. I mean, it's a pretty, it is kind of a cedar and sandalwood. It's not as punchy as some of the cedar scents. The sandalwood smooths it out a little bit, but it doesn't have the same nuances. It's really more of a smoothed out cedar than something that the sandalwood is a major part of, at least to my nose. All right. So let us take our brush, and this is a wonderful handle. I picked this up at a PIF table because of the handle. I thought I could try the 30 millimeter synth. If I didn't like it, I'll yank the knot out, and now I'll stick a 30 millimeter something else that I like in this beautiful handle. And it looks pretty ergonomic, so let's get it wet. And then, as usual, kind of shake a lot of the water out. Let's work. This is a cream, and creams often take less water than crops. So if we only put in 2 teaspoons of water, or 1.5, that's not going to surprise me. This will also give me a chance to find out if I really like the ergonomics of this handle. Unfortunately, one of the bad things about these nice deep saddles is that it causes, see, look, there's air underneath my fingertip right there. And so a lot of pressure is on the points of your finger. Likewise, my thumb here, a lot of pressure on the points instead of really enjoying that saddle. Now, in this knob holding kind of configuration, it's terrific. But that's usually not how I do a lot of brush work. So I may want to just pass this on to somebody else if this ergonomics of this handle don't really work for me. That way I don't have to, unknot the handle, because I bet there's somebody out there that wants a tuxedo like this. All right. I do have hard water here, And I've kind of worked it such that I can see it kind of stabilize. Look at that. Look at the pointiness of that structure up here. Somebody once said that even the best cream is only as good as a mediocre soap. And I believe he was including Cropes in that as well. I kind of agree. So when I ordered these samples from Maggard, I was expecting some really good lather because they are just talked about so much online. Now, creams do offer an advantage of being a little quicker to whip together than a Crope or a hard soap. And so sometimes for newbies, they are a good choice because they're a little easier to work with. But honestly, it just doesn't take too much to figure out most soaps, even hard soaps, you know. You just, let's go ahead and do 2, and that might be all we need to do. It is a nice woody scent, but it's just not fancy. It's not, and what I mean by that is sophisticated, nuanced. It's just plain wood. It's just like somebody went to the store and bought some wood oil. Now it's a nice smelling wood oil. You know, I mean, it's accurate, but I mean, I would have thought that, you know, somebody renowned would have put some more interest or thought into the scent creation, you know. But maybe these are kind of woods and stuff that are maybe common more in America, and so I'm used to them. And so they're more exotic in other locations because I think this is a company that's based out of England or the UK. Looks pretty good. Who knows? Maybe somehow I will mix together a lather that I really enjoy. And this won't be a lather that I hate. We'll see. It's got some creaminess to it. Still got quite a bit of you know, structure. As you can see, the peaks just easily supporting their own weight, that kind of thing. But there is some slickness there. Let us add so now we have 3 teaspoons in there. Now let's just mix it until we feel like we've gotten a good homogeneous mixture here. Ah, there we go. Some people are so in love with their creams that if you publish on certain forums that you're not impressed with Castl Frbs, it's like they'll fight you. Now the lime scent, really nice, vibrant, punchy lime, an intense, authentic smelling lime. So I could see why they might be going for something very basic with that. A little water on my face now. Now let's see what this big old tuxedo feels like. Now with these brushes, if you only do the painting strokes, then the backbone is less. Oh, this is horrible. This is horrible. It's just so hard to display. So maybe we'll do a little bit more painting than the scrubbing. Now I can do more scrubbing if I back off the pressure and try not to splay it very much. Then it's a little more comfortable. But I don't enjoy doing that. Some synthetics have such soft tips that I think they'll take a mediocre lather, make it feel better than it actually is. One thing synthetics do well is lay down the layer of soap and the layer of lather on your face in a, most of them do it in a very even layer. The natural brushes don't have that same synthetic spread, and so it's got more grooves and things like that in it. But I don't think that's a big deal at all. All right, and I'm going to try to ride the cap and see if I can get a little bit better luck at keeping it kind of comfortable. I think I inquired about maybe trading this Goodwill for one that was a little more mild. I think what I discovered was there isn't one. They're all kind of aggressive. Of course, this doesn't really have good support on the bottom of the blade. So if I were to balance it out and put pressure on the comb as well as the top cap, sure we'd hear a lot of audio. I definitely feel at risk of cutting myself with this one if I am not careful. But sticking with the most of the pressure on the top cap, I think I might be able to get by without cutting myself. And of course, light pressure is a must. Oh yeah, and let's take the chin lather, spread it around in my... Now the good news is, since this is an aggressive razor, I may end up with a really nice shave. And rinse. A little half rinse there. I mean, this is a passable lather. It does its job. But as I recall, I think it's kind of a pricey cream. And you know, creams don't last as long as crops because they're less concentrated. And then it's just got so much hype. And so there's extra cost, a whole lot more hype, and just kind of average performance. And so that's why it's being used today. I'm going to do another with the grain. Oh yeah, that's a lot more comfy because we did knock down a good bit of hair on that first pass, even though it felt rough. Gotta be careful on my neck with this one. I really feel like I could give myself a good gouge, or at least some serious irritation. And I'm not getting a ton of real good slickness here. Even though the lather looks nice. Maybe I should have picked a different razor to use with a mediocre cream instead of one that needed a really good high performing lather. Alright, very good. My neck feels, and you know, this has happened a few times in the past where I had such a bad experience with the razor that I didn't want to finish the shave. Yeah, see, that feels very aggressive. I'm a little concerned. I don't think I'm going to do a cross grain pattern right there. Just going to stick with almost with the grain so that maybe the extra aggression can give me perhaps the closeness of a cross grain pass, but without the irritation that I'm pretty sure would come. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that the way it is. I think that's 2 passes. I may just stop at that. Yeah, I'm not interested in putting that razor on my face anymore. Now, let's be fair. The blade used is a very old blade, about to hit 300. So we can't say that this is a bad razor. However, I have used this razor with a fresh blade, and it pretty much felt the same way. I felt very much in danger. Matter of fact, this smoothed out blade may have given me a little bit better of a shave than I got when I tried it with something younger, because the smoothness, I may have not even completed the first pass, you know, back with the younger, sharper blade. All right, now on to Elysium from Storybook Soapworks. This is a post shave, and I don't like it very much. Is it bad? Nope. It's just not me. It's got lavender and peppermint and cedar. And I am not a peppermint guy. I understand that peppermint is often combined with lavender because, and I learned this from Will at Barrister and Mann, in the lavender extraction process, the real lavender, there is camphor is a side ingredient that just comes with it because that's used as part of the process, and so that can be kind of medicinal smelling, and so often I could see why peppermint would be brought in because it's in the camphor family, but it's a little bit more pleasant. And I do think the scents kind of work together with the peppermint and the lavender, but it's just not my thing. But I can see why people like it, and so it was good to learn that about lavender, because I was using his reserve lavender, and it is a very pretty pure lavender. And so I was talking to Will about it, wondering what that extra smell was that I was getting, and he explained it a little bit. So that was good to learn. So just 2 passes, and the amount of lather I built was, 3-4 more passes worth. I'm just not gonna worry about it. Let us look at what kind of lather we are generating or playing with here. Plenty in the bowl as well. So it does have a nice kind of luxury feel when you're just moving the lather around. I don't think I over wet it, but it just doesn't have much slickness to it. And this is definitely not over wet. I mean, look at that pillowiness. The viscosity. I can actually move by moving this hand, I can actually move my other hand because the viscosity and the resistance. And look. But then when you compare the contact slickness, there's just not much there. It's very light and almost like a very thin slickness. That is just not at all. I mean, maybe these guys who like it are overloading, using a lot of product, not very much water. So they're using kind of an underhydrated lather, at least by my standards. Again, let's be fair. It might not be overhydrated for them. And so that, but here it holds true again. It's just, to me, this is just an inferior lather. And I've definitely had other people corroborate that opinion. So I'm not the only one. It's just, the contact slickness is just very thin and very light. It's just kind of in a bad way. We did have it, look at that, it is nicely hydrated. And so I think I'm getting as good out of this lather as I can get. So there we go. Hey, can my knuckle pause the video? So yeah, I confirmed the fact that I didn't like the Tuxedo. And I also confirmed the fact that, look, all the pressure's on my fingertips, my thumb tip there, and the saddle is just so deep that that's where the pressure is. And now if I moved my fingers up to here, maybe that's part of how it was designed, you know, have the main ball point back in your palm. And then right here, you know, it's got this nice little convex surface to maybe hold your fingertips, and that's very comfortable. But see, that's not the way I work because I'm in the bowl. My fingers are going to get really messy like that. And so I think this is just a handle that's designed not for me. So that's good to try that out because it's a beautiful handle, and I'm really kind of sad that it didn't work out. It's a beautiful handle. So didn't take too much to clean up these synthetics. Just a little bit of stropping and they're good to go. Yeah, the peppermint. There are just lots of other scents that that are more me, you know. And so is this bad? No, just not for me. Just not a scent for me. I think it's well conceived. I think I was reading about it and they said this was the first scent of the storybook put out. And I can see why they went with it. I can see why some people, you know, probably embraced it. And this may be a kind of a, yeah, it does say alcohol-free aftershave splash. That's nice for those people who don't like that. It's got witch hazel, aloe, some other stuff. So, all right. I mean, actually, if it's what I had on hand, I maybe could see myself getting used to it. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. Maybe I just decided that somebody else could get more use out of it than I would, more enjoyment, you know, because there are definitely other scents that I like. All right, so that's what, $2.93? Yeah, $2.93 in the books. Probably a little bit more than a half teaspoon of the cream, and then 3 teaspoons of water is my approximation of today's ratio. And I feel like it gave it a good chance. I don't feel like it was too wet, and I don't feel like it was definitely wasn't too dry. All right, so this is the typical ball end handle made of brass. And then there's the Nacet. It's just really cool. And I heard with the Goodwills that sometimes they just kind of pushed out mismatched kind of items. And so that's why some of them don't fit, you know, super well together. Or at least they have, you know, quite loose, and so you have to fiddle with them to make sure the blades align properly. I said I thought this was made in England, and then I corrected myself and said the UK. Well, that was a wise thing to do because it's pretty obvious where this was made. Scotland. All right, guys, there we go. That's the stuff you don't like, stuff you hate shave. And most of them came away unchanged. My mind is unchanged. Except possibly with the fact that the Elysium aftershave, you know, could potentially be used if there were others around that didn't exist, you know. All right, well, there we go. Man, I just stopped at 2 passes because that was rough. I sure hope that you guys found something in this video that was helpful for you. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care. Good night.